Hi everybody, good morning. I'm thrilled you're here today. And so today we're going to be talking about how to calm your mind at the end or at the beginning of a long day, especially a toxic day. If you're surrounded by narcissists or toxic people or people struggling and they don't know how to manage their emotions or their energy, and you end up feeling it all because you're more empathic. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert, and my specialty is helping women stand up to, walk away from, hey Sandra Ann, or transform their toxic relationships or their narcissistic relationships. That's my specialty, and I work through Asian medicine and the body mind. So one of the biggest problems that people have, hi Irish Beauty Erin, nice to see you. One of the biggest problems that people have when they try to meditate, when they try to get grounded again and get calmed down, is that their mind won't stop spinning. You know, it's really tough to get into a space of meditation or a space of being present like so many people want to do, like we're encouraged to do when we're in a place of fight or flight all the time. So typically, because of the world we're in, hey Swati, nice to see you. Because of the world we're in, it's so busy, it's so crazy that that we end up as women in a place of fight or flight for sometimes years or decades. We don't even quite know what it's like not to be there. And so many women come to me and they say, I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate. I try to meditate. I try to calm my brain down, but it just won't be quiet. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a shift in your thinking. Meditation has a lot to do with your physical body, even more than it does with your thoughts. Think about your thoughts as a side effect to the fact that your brain waves and your physical form are, in conflict, that they're ramped up. And so there are a lot of really wonderful keys that will put you into a meditative or trance state. Hey, Kellyanne. That will put you into that Zen state that don't require you sitting in a place on a pillow trying to get your mind to quiet, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about the conscious mind. Our conscious mind is just it's our frontal lobe. It's just a few tablespoons of gray matter that we identify as us. But in reality, what's in control of how we feel is our subconscious and our body, and a lot of times our gut too. But we talked about the gut yesterday, which was cool. So one of the things you want to do is to get your frontal lobe out of the way. So how do you do that? The way we get the frontal lobe out of the way is through repetition. Now, in many Native American cultures, they would do ceremonies. You would walk into a lodge that was kind of dark and filled with ceremony, filled with symbols and metaphors. And there would be a fire. And the fire, the crackling of a fire or the drumming of a rain or wind or the waves, they use sound and vision to put you into a trance state. It gets your frontal lobe out of the way, and that's how your mind is able to quiet and go into a different brainwave state. They'll also use things like shamanic drumming. They'll do repetitive, rhythmic drumming. If you've seen African ceremonies, you'll see them doing drumming and rhythmic dance. You'll see all of these sorts of things, and they're based on rhythm. They're based on patterning. Now, they did some research a number of years ago where anything that's repetitious, that doesn't require your conscious mind to really stay present, it gets bored and it gets out of the way, and you're able to really tap into your subconscious. You're able to tap into those deeper levels of who you are. And so they found that things like long distance driving will put you into a trance state of mind. Even shaving, hey Jody and Lisa, even shaving, if you do it every day with the repetition, that it starts to quiet your mind. For me, it's when I start listening to music over and over. When I was in my most difficult, toxic stages of relationships with people that I knew when they were struggling and it was affecting me, what I would do is I would take one song and I would play that one song because it's a song that made me feel good. I'd play Let Your Love Flow. by the Bellamy Brothers. And I would play it for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and a half, over and over and over. Hey, Lynn, because what happens is your brain starts entraining to the things that you're hearing. It starts entraining to the vibrations that are coming at you. Think of us as antennas that are picking up things from outside of us, as well as sending out messages to everybody around us. Hey, Sue, nice to see you. And so we can, instead of just using our environment and picking up toxic energy from the people around us, we can use our environment to train our brain to get into those different brainwave states. They even have apps now that are pretty cool, where you can add a brainwave to whatever sound you're listening to, waves or bells or music. You can have music over the top. And many therapists, they'll use music in the background with the brainwave work, with the brainwave signals underneath when they see anxious clients. Because what that does is it gets the brain, it trains the brain into a calmer state of mind. It takes it out of the anxiety, out of the, constant moving, and physically entrains it to come down to a different state. Now, if you need to have a visual about entrainment, think about when they would talk about clocks. Remember that story where if you had a room full of clocks, where that were mechanical, that after a period of time, they would all start swinging in the same way? That's entrainment, because sound is a wave. It's a physical wave that you can measure. And so you can use sound like rhythmic drumming, or like, apps that have different brain waves you can add, or a song that you're listening to. You can use it. You can use sound waves to entrain your brain to a more grounded meditative state. Now, when I first started talking, I was talking about ceremonies. So you can also use visuals to put you into a more grounded meditative state, to change your to change your brain waves. That's why they say when you meditate, it's good to use a fire or a candle, something along those lines, because the flickering is so repetitive that it starts to quiet your mind. Hey, Liliana, nice to see you. It starts to quiet everything down and put you back into that Zen state. So you can watch something, whether it's the fake fireplace, channel on your TV, or whether it's a real fireplace, or whether it's a candle, or whether I've got in my office a heater that has, the fake fire to it. It's the repetition, the visual repetition, that helps your brain calm down like that. Now, I also talked about African ceremonies, and I talked about dancing and movement, and they would do rhythmic movement and rhythmic dancing. Same sort of thing. When you do something rhythmically with your body, then it changes your brainwave state too. So that's how athletes are able to get into a state of flow, that space where they just feel that they're kind of one with the universe. Hey, Nazreen. That's why you hear about premier athletes that are able to feel like they are one with the arrow, like they're one with, whatever it is they're doing. That's because their brainwave state gets entrained to the activity that they're doing. So when they do those ceremonies that you watch, and you're like, wow, how does this work? It's because the movement of the dancing gets their conscious mind out of the way, puts them into a Zen trance state of mind, and that gets them open to spirit. That gets them open to inspiration and a higher state of beingness. So you can use dancing, and they've talked about it a lot, in order to do this. Or drum circles, the act of drumming, the sound of drumming, the atmosphere of drumming, that will put you into that brainwave state. Gongs work great too. Gong baths, we've got one coming up this Saturday. Listening to wonderful Native American flute music, or older, more traditional music, it's those rhythms, it's those patterns that calm our brain down. So you can use these at the beginning of your day or at the end of the day. Let's say you're anticipating that coworker, that, or that boss, and you just feel tense. You get to prep yourself by doing things which are rhythmic, doing things which make you hear rhythms, that make you physically do rhythms that make you see rhythms, you know, like driving on the highway. You get to do those things to prepare yourself and detox anything that you had before you start your day. Or let's say you've had a long day and you've been bombarded by everybody's energies. You get to physically change the energy of so that you can get into a different brain wave and connect with the divine and connect with spirit. Jody says she loves rainforest sound videos. Yeah, absolutely. Waves work great. So I've got apps that play waves. Rain is wonderful. Birds, sounds of the forest. They did some great research on people and concentration. And they found people who've got a window, you know, that looks out to nature are able to be more focused and more accomplished than people who are stuck in a cubicle. And the reason for that is because the nature keeps their conscious mind occupied so it doesn't get bored. And then it's able, and the rhythms of nature, it calms things down, and so you're able to better focus. You're able to get back into that flow and that Zen space. Thunderstorms work wonderful too. So the next time that you're looking to get a good pattern in place, a good detox or meditation in place, you don't have to think that you have to sit in a spot and try to quiet your mind. That's just not going to be quiet. That's just going to keep going. Instead, start looking at your environment and putting things in your environment that are repetitive and rhythmic and more natural. And what that will do is automatically those different elements will start to calm your mind down. And that's why those ceremonies worked so great. Hi, Soul Vetch, nice to see you. It's not because there was anything that was overtly magic about them, although how we work really is super magic. You know, it's cool how all of this stuff works. So it's there's magic in there, but we understand a bit how the magic works. They'd use the sacredness of the ceremony. So if you've got a sacred space that you can hang out in, a room with a little bit of an altar or a crystal or something that even just to you helps you feel like it's a sacred space, a picture, something that taps into that, you know, that visual piece, and then use the sounds of rhythm, the movement of rhythm, maybe even the smells. A lot of times we get entrained to something that smells a certain way. So when they would do ceremony, they would typically use 2 herbs. They would use sage or sweetgrass. And when someone would smell the sage, it would put them into the right brainwave state. Or when they would smell the sweetgrass, it would put them in the brainwave state. Or smell the fire. So you get to train yourself when you need to be calmer by doing the same things. So maybe when it's time for you to calm down, you smell the essence of rose, or you smell the essence of lavender. It's those patterns that tell your body that it's okay to get into the calmer brainwave state. It's a trigger. You don't just have to be triggered by negative things in your environment. You get to be triggered by positive things in your environment. And you start to take back your control, and you start to take back your power when you decide for yourself, this is the experience I want to have. When you stop being victimized by everything coming at you and instead saying, my car is going to be my sanctuary. I'm going to set it up so that everything in my car puts me into a calm brainwave state. Or maybe my kitchen. You know, people used to hear about women who would do repetitive tasks, you know, housekeeping, of folding laundry and washing the dishes. Hey, Kimberly, those same physical movements, because they're repetitive, just puts you into that calmer space. Yeah, Sandra. Sandra says maybe just knowing this is a safe space helps. Yeah, it does. Just knowing that this is a space where this is where you're going to do your work. And that's why walking into something like a church typically starts to, you know, unless we've got issues. I was raised Catholic, so I got issues. But I still have the same feeling when I walk into a church. It's that sacredness. And it says, okay, this is what we're going to do. Now, the neat thing is the more you do this, the stronger those neural connections and their nervous system connections get. And so it doesn't take much. They did this great research about this girl who would take medication. I don't know what it was for, but every time she took the medication, she would smell a rose. And after a year of taking the medication and smelling the rose, she didn't need the medication because the smell of the rose would trigger her body to do the things that she was asking it to do, that the medication would ask it to do. And so you too can train your body to go into this meditative state. It's not all about sitting there and trying to say Om and being in Zen. It's about any sort of environment that you like, that you respect, that you love, that has that repetition to put you into that calmer brainwave state. We've got like 6 or 7 different brainwave states. They're finding new ones all the time, actually, and they're all responsible for different stuff. And so find the brainwave state. You can even have different rooms or different environments that you say, okay, I need to be more creative now, so I'm going to put on Tchaikovsky. You know, they found that classical music is great for that creativity, you know, those rhythms and patterns in that music. Or maybe I need to be in a more trance-like state, so I'm going to listen to shamanic drumming. You get to create environments that put you into the optimal state for how you want to feel and think. Okay, so start experimenting with some of these things. Start playing with them. Liliana says, "Be still and know that I am." And as a Catholic, she loves the stillness, serene, and peacefulness. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I loved about going to a Catholic church, because they are designed for that super peace and super calm involved with them. And they were smart. They knew how to set that up. You've got the beautiful stained glass and the colors. You've got the music. You've got the wood of the pews. You know, you've got the ritual of it. You've got the incense and the burners. You've got those smells. You've got the candles going with the flickering. You've got all of those things. The Catholics are super, super smart when it comes to ritual. But the cool thing is you don't have to depend upon somebody else's rituals, upon somebody else's tools. You get to create your own church wherever you are, whether it's in your cubicle, whether it's in your car, whether it's in your backyard, living room, kitchen, whatever it may be. Someplace where you are able to impact and create, even if you hide it the rest of the time, you know, or even if the things that you have in place other people don't see, you know, that's not the point. And the neat thing is if you put these things in place, they don't just affect you. Anybody else who encounters them starts to feel calmer too. I used to go to corporate offices and do massage, and they would give me little side rooms, and I would bring a whole ton of stuff with me. I would bring sound, and I would bring smell, and I would bring color, and I would affect the lights, and I would bring things that flicker. And people down the hall, they could feel me. They could feel the energy that I brought with me, because it's physical. And as they got closer to my space, they would calm down. So if you want to start calming down, not only you, but the people around you, so that everybody's less anxious. Because when everybody's less anxious, then they tend to be less toxic. When everybody, you know, is content and in a calm brainwave state, they tend to be less aggressive. You get to calm everybody else around you, your kids, your husband, your parents, you know, whatever, your spouse, by setting up an environment with that repetition that purposely calms them on a physical level, and that calms their thoughts, and it calms their whole energy state. Okay, so cool. Here's your homework assignment. I want you to put one thing in place, no matter where it is, whether it's on your iPod or in a spare room or in your car or your bus, you know, or in your backyard or whatever. One thing that's repetitive like that, that makes you feel more natural, in order to start practicing to get into those different brain waves, to be able to strengthen that and be able to get into that calm space much quicker and much faster every time you do it. And then after a few months, can you imagine that you're able to go into a trance state like that because of the triggers and the signals you've put in your environment? Wouldn't that be great? Not to have to spend 2 hours to try to calm down your mind or calm down your body. So it's that repetition and doing it every day, okay? So like, love, share, comment on other people's comments. And on Monday, we're starting a series on narcissism. I'm getting together with a bunch of my friends who are different healers and experts in narcissism. And we're going to be doing these live streams, Central Standard Time, Monday and Wednesday for 3 weeks. at 7:30 at night. All you have to do is show up on this channel and we'll be doing it. The first one is how to spot and avoid a narcissist. You know, how to recognize it before you end up, you know, in the situation in the first place, before you end up in a relationship with them. That's what we're doing on Monday, and that's with my friend Tara Spackman out of Australia. She's a psychic. She's wonderful. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be working with Patty, and Patty is a hemp oil and self-defense specialist. It is so much harder in cold weather, isn't it, Kellyanne? Yeah. So even if you just do 30 seconds out in the cold and then come back in, it starts to train you. You know, you get more comfortable with it, and it's easier to do. So keep an eye out for the Narcissism series. If you're in the McHenry area, in the Chicagoland area, we're doing a gong bath on Saturday night. And we are doing spiritual development circles 2 Thursdays a month. So if you're curious about any of these programs, or you want to join us online for anything, I do coaching, reach out. I help women get out of narcissistic relationships, or change them, you know, or transform them, or at least learn how to stand up for yourself and speak your truth without quaking in your boots. Okay? Have a great rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.